Christmas pigs, Christmas pigs, Christmas pigs, Christmas pigs, Christmas pig. Apparently, it's a brand new song by Keith Lemon, Lee Francis. Could it become number one? Oh, I can barely hear anything because I've got my ears covered with my The Last of Us hat on. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday. It's the first proper weekend of Vlogmas. You've got a fabulously functional Curly Cooks tomorrow. It's going to be telling you how to make a very bog standard, simple roast Christmas dinner. Christmas dinner, that's it. I was toying with making some desserts in the run up to Christmas. I don't know. But I realise I've missed the boat when it comes to Christmas cakes. You have to get in early, something like March, don't you? Is that right? Morning, Lulu Lights. Morning, Faith Goodman. I hope you're all well. We'll be doing the quiz of the week towards the end of this. If you haven't, do check out last night's Vlogmas. Miserable Dina. Hates everyone. Bar humbug Nadia. And a very bloated me. Hope you're well. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you're enjoying Vlogmas. More to come. Why do you think I might be in here? Could there be an hangry elf in other room? Could there be an hangry elf in the other room? Good morning. Yes, the PO box is there. It's the post office is very odd and very sort of haphazard in the way they manage it. So things don't come to us at the right time and we don't really know how it works. I hope you're well, Carla Hatcham, Lulu Knight, Ellery Jones. Hello, welcome everyone. Ross Ouch. Hello. It's been an interesting week, interesting sort of in terms of the news, really. I mean, mainly Greg Wallace has been there. And over the last 24 hours, it's interesting. I was beginning to wonder whether in the run up to Christmas, whether what we should do on a Friday is maybe throw the news over to you. You tell me or you tell us what news stories you'd like us to chew over. Because sometimes, like obviously we're going to talk a little bit about John Torode. He's spoken out about the Greg Wallace drama. Obviously, John Torode being Greg Wallace, MasterChef Judges co-host, co-presenter, very high-profile chef. He's issued a statement over the last 48 hours. And presumably he's probably gone into a bit of a kind of John Torode, I mean, will have gone into a bit of a PR spin kind of nightmare. He's kind of, doesn't want to be infected by the rot and all that kind of stuff. I want to talk about what is a QUAD-DEMIC. And in a minute, I'm going to ask you to share, not that one should do this often, because as Minan said, you ask someone how they are, and the thing is they tell you. We like to know how you are, but what viruses we've all got and how we could all potentially get all four all at once. And I want to ask, why is Keir Starmer so spectacularly boring? And I know before anyone says it, politics and politicians, you want politicians who aren't just big personalities. I get all of that. But there's boring, and then there's boring, and then there's actually uninspiring and totally demotivating. And I think, unfortunately, he falls into the latter as he rebranded and reproposed and relaunched in very insipid manner. A plan for change. We've done change. We now need to plan for change for ordinary workers, for ordinary people. We need to, if the change didn't work, but we're going to plan for more change. I need to change. I need to change my pants. I need to change my voice, and I need to change direction. I like him boring me, Tube. I like that him being a technocrat annoys the mainstream media. I don't look, Christ, me, Tube. No one wants to annoy the mainstream media more. I just wish he annoyed them, not just for being a technocrat, but for also being inspiringly counter and anti everything they represent. Unfortunately, the problem with Starmer is he's cozied up to the mainstream media, hasn't he? Really, the question I think they should be asking him today or yesterday, I bet no one saw this. Amnesty International, at what point, you know how we live in this strange world now where the word ceasefire means you hate, the word peace means you're anti-Semitic, the word humanity means you're stupid and evil. Killing mass killing of civilians means you're a moral army. Well, anyway, so there used to be a time when saying Amnesty International, people go, oh, right, okay. Wow, Amnesty International. Oh, right, yeah, save the children. Oh, Oxfam. It used to matter, didn't it? It used to matter what they said. Well, Amnesty International yesterday was the first major international aid agency or human rights group that's concluded that Israel is committing a genocide against the Palestinians in the Gaza war. Obviously, I mean, it's always reported Israel strongly denies. Of course they do. Israel strongly denies everything. Can't wait for the BB files. We're going to all be watching that and reviewing it and promoting it and sharing it and telling everyone about it, aren't we? BB, the great big baby, in his nappy, shitting himself literally copiously every day because he needs a conflict. He needs a war, but he's running out of bullets. It's all a bit weird, isn't it? But anyway, so Amnesty International have announced that it's a genocide. And here's the thing, and me too, I don't know if you agree with this. I just wish a few of our journalists who always get access time to politicians based upon whatever piece of shit the politicians are wanting to promote, or they're wanting to damage limitate. So, it might be Wes Streeting talking about, we're going to get waiting times down. Yeah, we're going to get, people aren't going to be dying in corridors and then they come on a program, they come on the radio, they talk about that. And then journalists need to use these opportunities to ask killer questions. And I haven't heard one ask Keir Starmer, whilst he was telling us about his plan for change, which I thought we changed, but now he's got another plan for change. Just sneak it in at the end. What do you, as a humanitarian lawyer, Mr. Prime Minister Starmer, what do you make of Amnesty International, presumably an organisation you probably have close ties with as a humanitarian lawyer? What do you think of their assessment that Israel is committing a genocide? I know what a genocide is. We're not talking about whether you know what a genocide is. What about the genocide that is happening in Gaza? Oh, come on. I mean, why? Do you know what I mean? So it's not actually me too. What I'm saying there is I don't actually blame Starmer because he doesn't have to jump through many hoops with the mainstream media. So I disagree. I don't think the mainstream media are annoyed by his technocracy. The mainstream media is just letting him just kind of bore the country to death. Natasha Tiramos. Morning, Lynn, Ellery. Sorry if I've missed anyone. Oh, morning. Me too. The UK mainstream media won't ask that question because the UK mainstream media all have an unspoken agreement to not embarrass the government like that. So what? So they okay, right, brilliant. No, you're right. If this is the case, how can we, you, us, anyone, say we therefore live in even a parliamentary democracy? If the mainstream media does not hold the fire to the politicians' feet, do you get me? It's so tedious. Do you know what? I can't get over how tedious it is. In fact, it's so tedious, I'm going to have to turn to someone. And I never thought I'd say this. I'm turning to Carol Vorderman. Oh, yeah, I'm turning to Vorders. Check this out. Now, the captioning that someone's put on this isn't particularly accurate. So don't look at the captioning, listen to the words. Don't look at the pictures, listen to the words. Or if you don't listen to the words, obviously read the lips. So here we go. You ready? Carol Vorderman talking about the mainstream media and its culpability in this current situation.
Trust in politics is lower than ever. Trust in newspapers, well, even Wikipedia won't accept many, including the Daily Mail, as a reliable data source. Trust in broadcast is in doubt, and it would be remiss of me not to mention that trust in the BBC is declining. The 2022 Reuters Institute Digital News Report found that trust in BBC News had fallen 20 percentage points over the 5 years from 2018, and distrust in the BBC had grown in that time from just 11% to 26%. But really, is it any wonder that is how people feel after so many controversial decisions by BBC management just in the last year? The handling of the Hugh Edwards affair, the ludicrous and catastrophic suspension of Gary Lineker after referencing a tweet by Suella Braverman. Are you mad? The enormous pension pots, the utter refusal to resign by former BBC Tory chairman Richard Sharp until he was effectively forced to stand down. The list goes on. Politics, arrogance, snobbery leads to disillusionment. They are all inextricably linked. The rich and powerful corrupting politics, the upper middles taking broadcasts for themselves, the increasingly absurd right-wing newspaper headlines being promoted by political programmes. Well, what has this got to do with class? It's got everything, literally everything. After 14 years of austerity and lying by the privileged political class, this country is in an absolute mess. And the television industry must accept part of the responsibility for that too, including the riots. We used to be the message makers, the ones who tried to determine the conversation of the country. And how responsible, I ask you, have we been with those messages? Not very, in many ways. In some cases, some might say reckless. A few examples. The normalising and platforming of Nigel Farage on I'm a Celebrity. Oh, Nigel is just Nigel. Nothing to do with me. What planet is that person on who thinks that? Who next? The Tufton Street mob, opaquely funded right-wing lobbying groups, appearing as so-called independent voices so many times on BBC political shows they've probably got their own dressing rooms. Note, the disgraced BBC chairman, Richard Sharp, had been a director of the right-wing Centre for Policy Studies, address 57 Tufton Street. Just saying. You so often give credibility to those who deserve none at all. And when people feel they have no voice, as disconnected as they do, there is a vacuum. And who floods in to fill the vacuum? The far right. You cannot be an industry with the power to create the conversation and then claim that nothing is your responsibility.
We're all doomed! Regardless of what you think of Carol Vorderman, regardless of what we have a real problem with news, with the agenda, with a kind of what's the word? You know, there's been a shattering or a kind of an exploding of where news comes from, who news is for, where the editorializing of news happens, how it happens. Mitri, you may mention the fact that we have it's all kind of quite centralized. The media is owned by a few. Those with dubious interests always weasel their way into positions of power within the media, because if you can control the media, you control the narrative. I mean, it's not crazy cod psychology that if if behind the scenes there are sort of people who have certain values, morals, beliefs, etc. I mean, the reason the Israel-Gaza crisis is significant because it's a genocide that we've watched happen through the bits and bobs that have been allowed, or not allowed, but that have got out of Gaza. And this is the part that's most staggering about it, that the IDF have themselves broadcast. This is the point. There's so many of these Israeli individuals, soldiers, members of the public, members of the government in Israel, are so rabid in their sort of fanaticism. They don't even see it as marked as odd, what they're saying, what they're doing, or how they're doing it. But the fact that the media here has provided so much cover, the reason that story, and we've talked about it so much, is so important is because that speaks to the way in which we can be controlled. And that's why we will forever keep drawing attention to it, because if it's happening there, it's also happening in other areas. Lots and lots of people felt the same was going on with COVID. You know, you start to nibble into the edges of conspiracy theories, and what the mainstream media does. And you can just listen to. I normally have quite a high regard for people like Sheila Fogarty on LBC, but every time I hear a journalist just completely rubbish the idea that you can get your news from any other source which isn't an official broadcaster, I just want to scream, because there's such a assumed arrogance by these journalists, the sort of legacy media, the Sheila Fogartys, the radio presenters at the BBC. They because they're the ones in a position of kind of authority, they think they are the gold standard, whereas actually they are merely puppets. They are puppets within a much bigger system. They might feel individually that their opinions don't chime with the puppet masters at the top. But, we are in a situation now where news and the reliability of news has completely imploded. And I don't understand. I don't have an answer to this at all. I don't quite know what we do. I mean, it's really, when people sort of say, well, how do I get my news and where should I go and get my news? I mean, the age-old adage, and please throw your thoughts here, the age-old adage that one was always taught when you studied history is that you need to find your source material. And here's the problem with history, and history informs so much political discourse. History is all about finding your primary sources, finding your secondary sources. Journalism is all about verifying your information from more than one, preferably more than two, different sources, ratifying, doing a due diligence, all this kind of stuff. But if those original sources, or the sources that are available, are only the ones that have been made available by certain people, how can you even trust your source material? And so consequently, yes, okay, Keir Starmer's just the latest puppet to sit in Downing Street, who gets into power and is effectively useless. But I never really had an understanding of what he represented before he got into power. And I certainly have no clue as to what he represents now. Is it about just managing the ship as best a way as possible? Because his 6 pledges, it's so, and it's not about being given slogans. It's not about being given, facile kind of promises, but it's just about being inspired. Even if the work that needs to be done to save the country is dull, tell us it in a slightly more inspiring way. I saw somewhere someone said he's just not a very good storyteller, and maybe it's as much as that. I think if you are a politician, you do need to have a charismatic ability to mobilize enthusiasm and opinion and belief. And even if it's dull trudgery that needs to be done, it can be done in a way that's kind of get people on board. It's like a boring history teacher or a boring teacher and an inspiring teacher. It's not that you have to have huge charisma to be a teacher, but if you don't inspire people, then people aren't going to get on board with your message. You really don't get it. Just tell me, Mitchell, tell me, what is Starmer doing? Because I am bored stiff of the grayness of it all. And it's not about just wanting a headline. You know me, I'm not wanting just a headline for headline's sake, but get us excited. And it doesn't, and most of government isn't exciting and shouldn't be excited. And it's not about creating culture wars. I just wish we had someone on the left and someone in the Labour Party who had the gift of the gab a bit more and wasn't an automaton who was put. Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer together could bore you to death. Ugh. It's so frustrating. But going back to the media, we have a real problem. Nearly all the mainstream media, basically the mainstream media in this country, is entirely compromised. It's entirely compromised. It's utterly untrustworthy. Maybe it's trustworthy when it's talking about a duck riding on a skateboard. Maybe it's trustworthy when it's talking about, it's not even trustworthy about the weather. Because the entire system, if it's not peddling a propagandized narrative that suits the investors' interests and the lobby groups, then it's amplified drama and created problems in order to simply sell papers or get people clicking and scrolling on their social media pages and on their news outlets. Let's get back to Wicked, okay? I wasn't a massive fan, but I enjoyed it much more than I was going to. It's all about creating an enemy. Now, if you know that, and Micho, I'm fascinated to know what you think, matey. How do you keep operating within the straitjacket of this? I don't see things ending up well. I was watching Question Time last night. And there was Farage, very sort of, just sat there, slouched back in his chair. And I just thought, this isn't about this isn't me saying this is what should happen. For example, Alistair Campbell, whatever you think of him, I thought that's the kind of guy we need as a politician. We need that kind of, he was real. He doesn't mind if he says something that's a bit unvarnished. He's not on some fucking anodyne grey script that's just like, I mean, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I can't stand Tony Blair and I couldn't stand what they did in Iraq, the dodgy dossier. But you do need someone who perhaps can look back and go, all right, well, that was a fuck up, and who says things and call things out. Where are the Liberal Democrats? Where's the Green Party? You know, we don't hear anything because the mainstream media doesn't let us hear anything. And there's Nigel Farage sat on Question Time. Where was he sat? Traditionally in the past, historically, on the far left of screen, as you're looking at it, was always the Conservative Party, and on the far right was always the Labour Party. And then as you went round towards the host, Dimbleby or whoever it was, now Fiona Bruce, you would get the sort of middling Liberal Democrats and a guest, Russell Brand or some nut job, sat next to the host. It was telling last night that now we have Reform on the far left and Labour, and so you feel, oh, okay, so the oppositional positioning is different. And I sat there and I thought, oh my God, all Nigel Farage, and how do we combat this, Michu? All Nigel Farage has to do is sit back and let boring Keir keep being boring, and with every day of boredom that emerges from Keir's mouth, Farage's support goes up. I'm telling you that now. I predict in 4 years' time a surge for Reform and potentially a Conservative/Reform alliance. I'm telling you right now, we're going to get, like in America, we're going to get a surge back. We were all like, oh, we've got 5 years. But unless Starmer does something, even if he just changes his voice. Do you remember how Margaret Thatcher went for a bit of voice training? I mean, it went the wrong way for her. But fucking hell. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, come to you for news. Don't necessarily. We're opinions. We just share our opinions and our frustrations. And Tim, you say you go to people on YouTube. What the mainstream media will have us all think is that if you get your news from someone like us, or just remember, this isn't news. This is us sharing opinions. We should be, if you come to us and hear something about Gaza, always double check, triple check, go elsewhere and look at other kind of sources of material. But the mainstream media would have you think that if you listen to anyone that isn't within an organization run by Ofcom or monitored by Ofcom, you're some kind of crackpot. People are frustrated and angry, and as Carol Vorderman says there, the industry is compromised. The media industry is entirely compromised. So always look for varying sources. Always for instance, the Amnesty International genocide story, go to Amnesty International and then immediately check The Guardian. And interestingly, then go and check The Telegraph. And I think you'll find that The Telegraph, which is a right-wing paper, won't even cover the story. I don't even think they've covered the story. What is the QUAD-DEMIC? Has anyone here got a virus? Has anyone here got a virus? Because there's a worry that there are 4 viruses all coming at the same time. Which one have you got? There's a QUAD-DEMIC, apparently, of COVID, flu, RSV, and norovirus. But which one have you got? And could you have all 4 as we head into winter? As you start to go to theatres and cinemas and you're in bars and pubs and someone sneezes next to you, and do you do that? You go, who the fuck are you? What? You've just ruined my Christmas. I get that. I was out yesterday and someone just sneezed and I was like, how? I look at people like with indignancy, like Nadia looks at me when I get a hiccup. The country, what is RSV? That's what I meant to ask. What is RSV? RSV, easy as 1, 2, 3. Baby, it's RSV. Yes, you see, it's just easy what you can be now. What does it mean? It doesn't even say here. The symptoms of RSV can include a cough, wheezing, shortness of breath, tiredness, and fever. While the symptoms are usually mild, and babies, RSV can also cause a chest infection called bronchiolitis. Norovirus is the one where you start being sick. You know, you got the winter vomiting bug. COVID, we kind of know, and flu, we kind of know. Body aches, fever, dry cough, etc. But the worry is that we could end up having all 4. So what are you going to do about it, guys? Lock yourself in? Not touch the escalator handles? Ugh. My grandchildren just had the norovirus, and I had COVID. Carol Robertson. So you had not a quad-demic, but a duodemic. Julie the singing nutcase, norovirus, just the thought of it makes me anxious. My sister went to her daughter's school for Christmas dinner this week. That says it all. That's it. That's all you need. It's the madness making us ill. Brenda M., you're absolutely right. Never again. I still have long... Oh, Tim Reed, do you still have long COVID? Whilst everyone in the world is just saying, crack on, matey. People are still, we're still living in the shadows of it. Hey, Alzaran, off topic. Yeah, let's jump off topic just for a moment whilst you share your viral stories. Snow White, notice the box the evil queen holds is white and blue. Don't say that. Snow White. Could it be the biggest dismal failure in the history of Disney cinema? I think it could be. Only one of those I've had before is COVID, says Erin Bullimore. Russ Souch, carry hand sanitizers with you constantly for the next few months. Do you get worried in the theatre, Russ? I remember one year sitting at Sadler's Wells, some guy behind me gave the biggest sneeze, and I looked at Nadia and said, that's Christmas over. 2 days later, we were in absolute turmoil. Snot, cough, everything. Snow White and the CGI. No white in the CGI. Oh, careful. How's Nanny Di, Gabrielle? Okay, I'm going to deal with this. I have dealt with it filming Vlogmas, but I'll mention it now. Nanny Di isn't great. Nanny Di is very frail. She has been with us. She has been with us for the last 4 or 5 days. We are using all sorts of equipment around her to help her kind of get strong. She's been and seen every feasible type of doctor, specialist, etc. So we're trying to make things comfortable for her. She was a lot better yesterday. Thank you very much for asking. She hasn't felt up to being on camera, and that's absolutely right. She's missed doing movie reviews. She's really missed the garden. Got a couple more green-fingered hells coming in amidst all the Vlogmases, but she's not great, if I'm really honest. And she's worried. We're worried. We're all looking at all sorts of big decisions and regarding living and all that kind of stuff. So, in terms of where to live and all that kind of stuff. So it's a time of great flux for our Nanny Di. So I'm sure she would love it for when she watches this. If everyone would send their love and all of their affections to dear Nanny Di, because it was funny because we were in the car yesterday together, both of us, and we did some filming with her, and she's got the gift. She's got the gift of just chatting shit like the rest of us, and so we chatted shit on camera. She'll be appearing in Vlogmas briefly, and in a couple of days she's going to feel a little bit better, I believe. And then hopefully we're going to be able to do some things in potentially a brand new wheelchair for her. So there we go. Rock and roll Nanny Di in a wheelchair, but she's frail. She's frail. There's no exaggeration, or it's an under exaggeration. I can't work it out, Mum. Which is it? Am I exaggerating or not exaggerating? I don't know. She's frail. Bless her cotton socks, says Ellery. Okay, so, and rather fortunately, Nanny Di doesn't have any of the quad-demics because she's a little bit of a vaccine addict, if I'm honest. If you say to her, you need a vaccine for sausages, she'll have it. She'll go, yes, give me that. I'll have that. Thank you. Okay, John Torode. Who the fuck is John Torode, you're all going? Who's he, for anyone who's not from Britain? This is he. He's the other half of the Celebrity MasterChef presenting team. And of course, lots of people have been thinking, what the hell does he think of what's happened with Greg Wallace and all of his inappropriatenesses? And this is what John Torode said on his Instagram. Since last Friday, I've been away filming MasterChef overseas. I love my job and I love MasterChef. I love being part of it and will continue to be part of it. During the last few days, I've been trying to make the best cookery program. So being busy making the show and caring for our contestants has allowed me little time to think about anything else, but this has been hard. The thought of anyone who's appeared on our show not having a brilliant experience is awful to hear, and I've found the recent press reports truly upsetting. But as I hope everyone appreciates, there is an investigation underway, which I fully support. So I cannot make any further comment at this stage, and I hope that you all understand and respect my silence on the matter moving forward. I suppose I just want to ask you guys, is that enough? Is that sufficient for you? I think so, don't you think? So I'm just getting rid of some of the stories up here. There's a piece in the Sun today that's headline says, talking to the mainstream media, John Torode repeatedly raised, in a weird way, you could almost argue the only stuff that's vaguely, not reliable even, it's not reliable, and Nadia can vouch for that, is potentially some of the celebby stuff. But there we go. Then it just becomes about taste and decency, doesn't it? Apparently, the Sun reporting John Torode repeatedly raised concerns about Greg Wallace's less savoury behaviour, but no action was taken. By all accounts, Torode was unhappy about some of Wallace's on-set language and was aware of his bullish reputation, pals say. John Torode seeking to distance himself. A source said John's not stupid. Of course, he's aware of Gregg's behaviour. He doesn't condone it, nor did he engage with it. He does not have a machismo sense of humour. And when he made the comment about them, the pair of them not being friends in real life, he knew what he was doing. It's his way of distancing himself when attempts to do it otherwise failed. I think there is going to be an element of needing to just stick out of it. You're absolutely right, Jackie Vallino. He just wants to stay out of it because you don't want to get caught up, if you like, as collateral damage. So John Torode has spoken out. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, this story, how it's going to develop. It's an enormous brand, and I'd have thought the machine of MasterChef will need to be thinking, do they plow on and get a new judge or what? So anyway, let's move on to Quiz of the Week. Shall we do it? Let's do it, team. Thank you for all your comments. Let's just read out a few more of your comments here. These presenters don't come across as authentic at all. All of a sudden, nobody knows about the predatory behaviour that's happened the past century in entertainment. Yuck, done with it all. The problem is John Torode is not his boss. They are both adults. Absolutely. There's that awful thing where, you can't be damned by association. You've got to work alongside someone. And this is one of the things I really want to stress when people say things like, why didn't people say something sooner? Or why don't people say things? If you're a young male or female, let me put it this way. I was thinking back to when we did film with Gregg in Matera, was it, in Italy? And obviously, when you're directing, you're not privy to every conversation that's going on. But there were a couple of occasions. I had a researcher who was female. I had an assistant producer who was female. We were all there. And whilst I was filming with Gregg or filming with Nadia, then there would be, they would be dealing with alternate Nadia and Gregg. And I remember at one point sort of seeing Gregg chatting with my team and them laughing. Now, there was nothing I'm not saying anything untoward happened there, but what's interesting about the optics on that is that if you're a young female or young male member of a production team, or you're in a less senior position to the director or the producer or whatever, or certainly the presenter, and the presenter, because they're a presenter, to anyone working on it is vital to the show, right? And they say something that's just stupid and not funny. What you do, and I've done this as I started out, you go, I think what a lot of presenters need to understand is, and celebs, the vast majority of people they work with appear to find them entertaining and funny, but they possibly don't because they're all a bit scared, or they're all a bit like, if not scared, they're like, I better laugh because they're kind of more senior and they're kind of famous and they're a celebrity. And I think there is another aspect to all of this that speaks to the notion of celebrity, that when celebrities say, I sometimes wind Nadia up about this, they're really nice in that shot. I'm like, yeah, because it's you donut. Of course they're going to be nice to you. There is a bit of that. You can't pretend there's not a bit of that. Of course there's a bit of that. So many people on the program will have just, and Greg Wallace will have been on the receipt, will have cracked some totally inappropriate joke. Some young girl or young boy says to them on production and walks off. And in Greg Wallace's sort of strange mind, he goes, that went down well. Because he's just seen the laugh. He doesn't see the social awkwardness or the hierarchy. Do you get me? Anyway, sometimes I feel like you need to explain that. I was having I was having a discussion with someone who was going, yeah, well, why don't these people just say? I was like, are you in the real world? It doesn't work like that. So many people tolerate, inappropriate behavior because of so many different reasons. It might be because you're in public and you don't want to cause a scene. The onus isn't on the person saying something about it. The onus is on the person not fucking making the stupid comment in the first place. Get a grip. Sorry. Okay, let's do the quiz of the week. If you don't like the quiz of the week, now's your moment to jump off, sod off, and live your life. For those of you who fancy a bit of a giggle and a little tour through the news before the end of the live, here we go. Question 1. 22-year-old Kyra May Turner walked away with the coveted title of Creator of the Year when the UK and Ireland's first ever TikTok Awards were handed out in London. Meanwhile, Miles Laughlin won High Quality Content Creator, but what kind of videos does he make? A. How to pronounce unusual place names. B. Swimming pools being cleaned. Or C. Travel videos. What kind of content does Miles Laughlin create? A. How to pronounce unusual place names. B. Swimming pools being cleaned. Or C. Travel videos. This was a wild guess, which I guessed correctly. Jenny says travel videos. I guess, I just thought it couldn't be that. That's too boring. But it's B. Swimming pools being cleaned. Question 2. France's Prime Minister Michel Barnier resigned on Thursday, hours after being ousted in a no-confidence vote by MPs. Let's not forget this week, the French government's fallen and South Korea went into martial law. Good God. The motion to unseat Barnier was spearheaded by Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally and which other party? A. The Democratic Movement. B. France Unbowed. Or C. Horizons. Is it France Unbowed or Unbowed? So which other party supported Marine Le Pen's pulling down of Michel Barnier's, not pants, but part of government? A, the Democratic Movement. B, France Unbowed. Or C, Horizons. Yeah, me too. Let's have a coup. Okay, but let's vote on it, said South Korea. The answer is C, Horizons. Question 3. Former rowing champion Dame Catherine Granger added to her achievements when she was appointed first female chair of the British Olympic Association. At which Olympic Games did she win her first medal? Sporting, Dame Catherine Granger, can't say I know her. Where did she win her first medal? A, Athens, B, Beijing, or C, Sydney? Just a wild stab in the dark, and I got it right. Which Olympics did Dame Catherine Granger win her first medal? A, Athens, B, Beijing, or C, Sydney? The answer is C, Sydney. Question 4. An art exhibition featuring a vintage Ford Escort, worship bells, and iron brew saw Jasleen Kaur win this year's Turner Prize. Created to celebrate the Scottish Sikh community, what was the exhibition called? Altar, as in altar, or Here Begins the New Life, B, or C, Presence? What was the exhibition called? A, Altar, B, Here Begins the New Life, or C, Presence? Aaron Bullimore, it was pretty intense, actually. Korean politicians climbed the walls to avoid the military checkpoints so they could vote down the military order. It was quite something. And all over the idea that North Korea have infiltrated South Korean politics too much. The answer is A, Altar. Question 5. Olivia remained the favourite name for baby girls for the 8th year in a row as the annual list of most popular baby names in England and Wales was published. Muhammad was the number one choice for parents naming their baby boys in 2023. But what name did it replace? Was it A, George, B, Noah, or C, Oliver? Wow. Which name did Muhammad in 2023 replace as the most popular name for boys? Tarquin isn't in there, you'll notice. That's just in Dulwich. A, George, B, Noah, or C, Oliver? I guessed Oliver because I've had a few snotty Olivers leave their bogies on my trousers when they've passed me. The answer is B, Noah. Interesting. Question 6. King Charles and Queen Camilla hosted a lavish banquet at Buckingham Palace as they welcomed the Emir of Qatar on a state visit to the UK. What were guests at the occasion served for their main course? Was it A, duck, B, pheasant, or C, turbot? Were they served duck, A, B, pheasant, or C, turbot. At certain points in Vlogmas last night, Nadia thought I was wearing a duck on my head. The answer is B, pheasant. Question 7. Oh, next. Language fans were offered a new favourite idiom as Oxford University Press named brain rot as its word or phrase of 2024. But which other buzzword from this year did not make the OUP's shortlist? Was it A, brat, B, demure, or C, romantasy? What does romantasy mean? What does romantasy mean? Which other buzzword from this year did not make it? Well, I went for the only buzzword I've heard or know this year, which is brat. And I was right. How much did you get? How many did you get? That's it. Last answer was A, brat. Just closing that. Who got 7? Who got 6? Who got 5? Who got none? If you got 5, 6, or 7, you're promoted to the Premiership. If you got 1 or 2, you're relegated. And if you got 0, it's all over. Christmas ain't happening, and Santa's been watching you from afar. Anyway, have a lovely Friday. Obviously, Vlogmas will be landing tonight. The argument over the gingerbread house continues. If you didn't see last night's, do check it out. It's very funny. It's a roiling, rolling sitcom of gloom and disaster as we wander around a beautiful Christmas lights show with them. And at one point I discover that kale kills, apparently. Did you know that? I didn't know that kale could kill. Anyway, have a lovely day.